Hi guys, and welcome to the Lincoln vs Sunderland match preview. So Sunderland do take on Lincoln away from home this weekend in what's going to be yet another, I'm saying every single weekend now, or every single week, every single preview, it's another must-win game, an absolute must-win game, particularly after the way things went last night. Some games went in our favour, or at least one game went in our favour, where Accrington did us a favour and picked up a point against Sheffield Wednesday, holding them down to a 1-1 draw, but everything else went against us. So as of right now, we are still in the playoff places, but just by the skin of our teeth. Of course, Sheffield Wednesday, they still have a game in hand over us, but still, things are starting to even themselves out now, because of course, for a long time, we played a lot more games than teams around us, but there's only sort of like one game in hand here and there from teams around us. So all we can do is keep winning our games. It's simple as that. Well, it sounds simple as that. Doesn't mean it's as easy as that, but it really is as simple as that. And then hopefully teams around us, i.e. the likes of Sheffield Wednesday, will continue to drop the odd point here and there that will keep us in those playoff places, because that is the aim. Of course, we've said for many weeks now, or at least I have, we're not getting in the top two. End of. All we can do is keep winning our games, take it game by game, and hopefully we can find ourselves within the playoff place, because I think that's the best hope we have at the moment. But before we do get into the preview, have a look at this stat. Currently, I don't usually like to bang on about subscribing the videos, or subscribing to the channel or liking videos, but if you have a look at this stat, a lot of the regular viewers aren't subscribed. You cheeky people. So if it would be massively appreciated if you are a regular viewer and you do watch the content quite a lot, and it's you go to, it really does help out if you just hit the subscribe button. It's completely free, as Sean Middleton always says. You know, liking the video, it means the world. You know, again, I hate asking and begging. It comes across very cringy, and I don't like doing it, particularly at the beginning of the videos. But yeah, I just looked at this stat earlier today, and I just thought, Jesus, are that many people not subscribed that are watching all the time? So yeah, so if you are a regular viewer and you're not subscribed, please consider it. It really does help. But anyway, on with the preview. Of course, we do take on Lincoln. Lincoln, last night they did take on Rotherham. They lost by 2-1. So, you know, that's nothing to be embarrassed of, ashamed of. You know, they're away from home against Rotherham. I think first half, from bits I've seen, Lincoln did look very poor, but they come back into it a little bit. Hopper got themselves a consolation. It was just that, a consolation. But Lincoln, for me, they're a little bit like Charlton in the sense that their league position, for me, is a bit of a false one. Of course, on terms of, you know, results and points they've picked up and games they've played, of course they deserve to be there. But in terms of a squad, you know, I don't think that they deserve to be down where they are towards the bottom end of the league. It's certainly a false position, like I say, very similar to Charlton. And they do have threats of their own. You know, we know last time we played him, Chris Maguire, former Sunderland man, who I absolutely frigging adored. He got a hat-trick against us last time, and it was just typical, wasn't it? He didn't play last night. He was on the bench, and he was an unused sub, Maguire, but I'm sure he will get a run out, because he's someone who plays up to the occasion. He likes to be the pantomime villain, and when he's on your team, he's an amazing lad to have, Chris Maguire, when he loves to play up to sort of occasions like this. So I'm sure we will see him at some point, unless he's got a bit of a knock on him. I'm not too sure. But yeah, they do have threats of their own. They do have decent players. Hopper, who did get the goal last night, again, is another player. And they do seem to play in a sort of 3-5-2 formation, which will influence my situation in terms of my preferred 11. Again, by the way, when I show my 11s in previews, they are my preferred 11s, not my predicted 11. There's times where I've done my previews and I'll get comments saying like, oh, Alex Neil would never do that. That's never going to happen. What are you talking about? And I'm just like, whoa, chill out, mate. Calm down. It's my preferred 11. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that Alex Neil's going to do this. So, yeah. So, you'll see him in my predicted... Oh, sorry. Jesus Christ, nearly threw myself in it there, didn't I? My preferred 11, I'll explain why I'm using certain players and using a certain system to combat the 3-5-2, because they'll use a system, this 3-5-2, to smother the midfield. And in recent weeks, we've been going 3 at the back. And against Lincoln, I just don't think it's going to work, because they'll have such heavy bodies out wide as well. And then if we've got 3 at the back and only got Sirkin and Winchester alongside Bailey Wright on either side, and we're going to get bombed down the wings, and we're using attacking-minded midfielders just in front of them, you know, and not necessarily wing-backs as such, you know, we're going to have a torrid time. So I have gone back to a 4 at the back, and I'll go through my team lineup very shortly. But back to Lincoln, you know, if you look at their results, the way they find themselves where they are is just purely out of inconsistency. They're currently in 18th, but if you look at the results, they'll lose sort of 2-3 games on the bounce, and there'll be bad defeats against certain teams they probably should expect to be beating, but then they'll pop up with a win or a victory against a side that, you know, we've struggled with, or it'll be a really good victory. Like, for example, you know, like we say last night, they got beat 2-1. They beat Wimbledon the weekend before against Wimbledon. Yeah, they won 2-0 against Wimbledon the weekend before. Before that, they got beat by Ipswich. Before that, they battered Sheff Wednesday 3-1. Before that, they got beat 3-1 by Bolton. Before that, they got beat by Dhannoo 1-0. Before that, 1-1 with Wickham. Before that, they beat Morecambe. Before that, they got beat against MK Dons. Before that, they got beat by Burton. But before that, they got a victory against Plymouth, who were up there at the time as well, at the time they were playing them. So do you know what I mean? I could easily just roll through all the fixtures but don't tell the full story. But do you know what I mean? Like, they'll get beat 2 or 3 times by teams that they arguably should be beating, and then they'll pick up a win, a big win against, you know, Sheff Wednesday or Plymouth. So it's not like it's completely out of their depth or out of their reach to beat us. Do you know what I mean? And if we do continue to play the way we did against both Fleetwood and Crewe, we will get beat this weekend, and I'm confident of that. And that's why I don't want us to play the 3 at the back. I think the 3 at the back, maybe it suited the situation. I think Alex Neil just thought simply we'll smother the midfield, and that's what he said in a podcast I've just recently listened to yesterday on the Unfiltered Sunderland official podcast. He was saying against Crewe he wanted to smother the midfield because he'd been watching Crewe a few times this season and he saw they played in a certain way, and he thought if we just put a load of bodies in midfield, we'd drown them and we'll be able to suffocate them. But apparently Crewe just played in a completely different manner, in a completely different system and way that he hadn't seen them all season, so it kind of threw that tactic and system out the window, our approach just kind of went out the window. But if we do continue to play the way we did against better teams, with no disrespect to Crewe or to Fleetwood, we will get beat quite heavily as well, because Crewe, they got 3 chances, all pretty much 1-on-1 with the keeper, and spurned them all at the Sol last time out. So against someone like Lincoln, we will be punished, and many other teams, we will be punished. So the good thing for us, you know, we've barely conceded. We have tightened up at the back somewhat, but against better teams, I think we should go back to the 4 at the back. I feel a little bit more safer, but also we need to get bodies in midfield to try and combat this 5 across the midfield that Lincoln do have. So I am going to go into my preferred 11 now. So as you can see, it is sort of a 4-3-3 as such. We've got Pato in goals, Cirkin at left back, Winchester at right back, Jamali and Bailey right in the middle. You could argue that maybe Doyle is set to come back, but Jamali, when he has played, he hasn't really put a foot wrong. Granted, there isn't a massive amount of pace within those two, Jamali and Bailey Wright. And Bailey Wright hasn't been great either, by the way. I think he's actually been quite poor, but he hasn't conceded, so I'm not going to move him. And Jamali, I just love his no-nonsense ways. Doyle at times against a team that can play like Lincoln, if Doyle tries to play it out from the back as he does, sometimes he can get away with it and sometimes it's fantastic. But before we did have his rest, and this is arguably probably why he's having his rest, you know, he was trying to play those kind of those 50-yard passes, those big diag balls, or those sort of Hollywood passes, and they just weren't coming off. He was just drilling it straight at opposition players, and not like, you know, at the beginning of the season where he was fantastic with it. He was bringing it out forward and playing it out from the back, and he was great there. But for the time being, we need a reassured and an assured backline. I think with Jamali and Bailey right there, we might just get that. Now in midfield, this isn't quite a 4-2-3-1 it may look. I just put Dan Neil a little bit in front of Onan and Matete purely because I think that should be his allowance. Like, let him run in between. He can go from our back third all the way to the final third and just have that kind of free roaming role. You know, defend when he needs to and get forward when he needs to. Whereas Matete and 09 to be more of an anchored pair there. Of course, Matete can get forward, 09 can get forward as and when, but some of them are going to have to drop because they're going to have so many bodies in midfield. So that can go to a 3 in defence, and then in attack, Daniel can push forward, or 09 or Matete, but at least one of them need to be anchored, preferably both, with the amount of bodies that they will have in midfield. Now forward, I've gone for Jack Clark, Roberts and Stewart. Roberts came on and played fantastic, as did Dietrich. I did think to myself, you know, there was a thought in my head of maybe dropping 09, because 09 wasn't great in the last game, and I said that. The only reason I've kept him there is because 09 was put in that sort of attacking midfield number 10 role, and I don't think he's fantastic there against Crewe, but he's a lot better with someone like a Matete, and I think the engine there between, you know, in the engine room between Matete and 09 would be fantastic. So I wanted to drop him back from that number 10 role and kind of give that to Dan Neil a little bit, but of course Dan Neil to drop a bit deeper. Yeah, but yeah, it would have been nice to maybe see, you know, Dietrich, Clark and Roberts behind Stewart, because that is very, very attacking. But I just don't think Clark, Roberts or Dietrich have that sort of potential of playing the number 10 role. I don't think any of them can really play that. And I think it could end up being a little bit of a mess and overkill. So I think Dan Neil in there can even that out a bit. So that is the lineup we'll go with. Of course, Ross Stewart up top. If Broadhead is fit, I'd probably chuck Broadhead in there somewhere because I just think he's that good. And I said that in the preview to the last game. I think Defoe should drop to the bench. But that is probably what I would go with. I just think that midfield trio there with Matete, Neil and 09, that is such a class of little engine room there. And I don't think we will give them too much space to breathe. If we really get in the faces, we know how good Clark can be, Roberts. And as long as you've got that sort of key between the middle third and the final third in Dan Neil, which we saw in his goal against Crewe, then I think we should be okay. If Dan Neil anchors himself to just a flat three of Matete, Neil and O'Nien, then there will be problems, because then what we'll find is that we'll end up sitting deep and we'll end up resorting to the pump it and forward ball, you know, just hoof it to Stewart, because there won't be that interlinking play between the middle and final third. But if Dan Neil does well and manages to play between the lines, I think we should be good there, and that will be a good interlink there between Dan Neil, Clark, Roberts and Stewart, if that makes sense. So that would be my preferred starting 11, and of course in the comments down below let me know who you would play. But now to the bit you are all waiting for, my predictions for this game, and I won't lie to you, I'm absolutely going to let my heart run with this one rather than my head, because my head is telling me it's going to be a 1-1 draw, but I'm going to go with a 2-1 win. I do think we will concede, and I think we will actually concede first, but I think we will come behind very similarly as to the way we did against Fleetwood. Then we'll have a bit of a late show, a couple of goals, and both of them will be awarded to none other than the Loch Ness Drogba. I think that is the way it's going to go. At least that's the way my heart's telling me. So, yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Sunderland win, and my head says 1-0, but we'll stick with 2-1 and hope that that is the case. So, of course, down below, you guys let me know what score you think it's going to be with your goal scorers and what have you, and on your preferred 11s, as mentioned before. But if you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button for me and subscribe if you're new. As we did mention earlier, there's so many of you guys that are regularly watching and you're not subscribed. It's so cheeky, but so I'm only joking. But yeah, if you've enjoyed, like, subscribe and all that nonsense. But for now, take care and stay jammy.